well, the state of Minnesota may soon become a safe haven for child predators if Representative Lee Fink passes Bill HF 1655. Here's Lee Fink. This is Minnesota representative, a transgender person who was elected last year after running on a platform of legalizing medical transition for minors. Fink, interestingly enough, is very interested in minors. In fact, Fink wrote this book for children called Queerfully and Wonderfully Made, a guide for LGBTQ plus Christian teens.
Wow.
In this book, Fink has advice for young people such as this: trans and non-binary and queer and gay and lesbian and bi young people, don't listen to your parents. That's the sage advice from this Christian trans
So don't listen to your parents
person.
at all. Yeah.
That's the quote.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great.
Now, Fink is a parent, though, who calls themselves a single mom of 2 elementary school daughters, even though Fink did not transition until 2017. So presumably was the girl's father for at least some part of their lives, but still now is billed as a single mother. Fink was also named as one of USA Today's Women of the Year, alongside Michelle Obama and Goldie Hawn and NASA astronaut Nicole Mann.
You mean other biological women?
Yes. USA Today says that women on this list make a positive impact in their communities every day. So how is Lee Fink making positive impacts on the community that they serve in Minnesota? Well, earlier in this week, Fink successfully passed the Trans Refuge Bill. That's HF 146. It allows minors from other states to come to Minnesota to receive gender-affirming care, meaning surgery and pharmaceuticals, and it prevents other states and parents from outside of Minnesota to get their children back. Here is the headline of the bill. It says it prevents the use of subpoenas to gather information for out-of-state laws interfering with the use of gender-affirming healthcare. It prevents, child custody and child welfare provisions from out of state. You can't use warrants, arrests, or extradition to other states. So once a child hits Minnesota state land, they cannot be removed if they are now on any kind of cross-sex medicalization.
So let's just play this out. Let's role play this a second. Okay. Let's say we live in Pennsylvania. Okay. And our 12-year-old son is going through some mental issues, and decides that, in the dark of night, has been on TikTok and has been seeing some stuff about going to Minnesota would be a safe haven. And he's going to go there and get drugs and hormone
and get his balls
puberty
removed.
Yeah.
Yes, he
his
can
testicles.
do that now.
And we can't do anything about it as parents.
No, you can't get him back. You can't subpoena anybody. You can't
hell is
extradite him.
happening?
No, absolutely you can't.
What the hell is happening?
Now, Fink was given, that passed. That was introduced just a few months ago and passed and became law April 24th.
So Minnesota, let's just be clear.
Minnesota is now a sanctuary state like California. So if you're going to put this poll up and say, should Minnesota be its own country and maybe not be a part of the United States, you're going to have to toss out California too, because I think California and I think Oregon also is a sanctuary state. Is it, Philip? Philip lives in Oregon. Do you know?
Well, it's a sanctuary state for immigration, but not
for medicalization.
I don't. Not that I know of.
It's only a matter of time. If Oregon's not on the list, that'd be a shock. But yeah, so Minnesota legislature, they got together, all of the people in the legislature, like, yeah, that sounds like a great plan.
Yeah, let's screw every other parent in every other state from making choices about their kids.
And I would love to know how many of those legislators in Minnesota are paid or have gotten funding in some capacity from the drug manufacturers that make these puberty blocking drugs and other things like that, who are pushing this stuff.
I went down a rabbit hole today from a talk by Jennifer Bielek. If you don't follow Jennifer Bielek, please do. She is the only person who is following the money in America for the medicalization of the human body. And boy, she can take you really far down this rabbit hole. For instance, she says, why is this the only dysphoria that we validate with surgery and drugs? Because it's really the only one that we can make money from. There are other dysphorias, such as people who have limb dysphoria, who they feel like, this is not my arm. I should not be living with this arm. And we don't say like, great, let's cut it off. Anorexia is a dysphoria that we do not validate. We help people overcome it and live in the bodies they were given. Why we want to medicalize the body to a certain extent. There are people who have laid this out and are making a ton of money on it. For instance, if you give someone Lupron who has cancer.
What is Lupron?
Lupron is a puberty blocker. I think what you charge their insurance is like $4,000, which is a lot, but it's nothing compared to what you charge if you give it to a transgender child to treat dysphoria, to stop their normally coursed puberty. It's like $9,000. That's what insurance
So
pays
again,
for that.
these I would love to know these Minnesota legislators. If you guys live in Minnesota, start looking into this. Who in the legislators making money, getting money from these big pharmaceutical companies?
I do hope to have Jennifer Bielak on here because she can lay this out so much better than me, because she's been pulling the thread of where the money goes. She goes, if you want to understand anything in America, you follow the money. And it's a clear path where this came from, why it's become so popular, and who is benefiting from it. It comes from, I want to say, a generation above us, but it's aiming for a generation below us, if you're in my generation.
Someone in the chat, Togar, says in the chat that it's about $1.3 million per trans person.
Yes. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
You're right. So maybe you are following Jennifer Bielak. Anyhow, let's get back to
Minnesota.
The next step in Minnesota. So now already Minnesota is a sanctuary state. Now, Lee Fink, the person we spoke about, was given the chance to edit Bill HF 1655. This bill seeks to add gender identity as a protected class, and it defines gender identity as a sense of being. Maybe different from your biology, but it is whatever your sense is, okay? So if you sense yourself a woman, you're a woman. That's what she wants to codify into law. It also seeks to add sexual orientation as a protected class, but then look at the edits that Fink suggested to that category. So here's how it stood as it was drafted, that sexual orientation, again, should be protected. It means having or being perceived as having an emotional, physical, or sexual attachment to another person without regard of the sex of that person, or having or being perceived as having an orientation for such attachment. Now, this is what they are proposing to delete, or having or being perceived as having a self-image or identity not traditionally associated with one's biological maleness or femaleness. Now, obviously, those words are problematic, so you would see why a transgender person might delete that part. But why this part? Sexual orientation does not include a physical or sexual attachment to a children by an adult. So by removing that, you are saying that people who are sexually attracted to children, that is a sexual orientation, which means that is a protected class.
In other words, PD, those types of people, PDs, they are now a protected class in Minnesota. So
Well, this has not been voted into law. This is a proposal.
This is a proposal. The other one they already have, right?
Yes.
So this is a proposal. And so the only way we stop this is if we call attention to it and we call legislators in Minnesota and tell them to absolutely do not make child predators a protected sexuality, a protected class, right?
Right, because if child predators are not excluded from the sexual orientation protection, then they would be included. You could very well perceive. And if they are included, how is it illegal to do it? Like if you arrest somebody for, say, attacking your child or abusing your child, well, then you can't do that because they are exercising their right as a protected class. You could make that argument.
You could say that it's discrimination. So like, let's say there's like some creepy 30-year-old, I don't know, guy, and he's hanging out at a park and he picks up like a 12-year-old. And under this law, that person would be a protected class.
Or let me just be a little creepier than that.
Okay.
Because we're
I'll let you do
going
that.
there.
Normally, I'm the one.
Let's say your child's teacher is, doing things that you're uncomfortable with and saying things that are sexualizing the children and maybe like rubbing their shoulders in a way that you don't like. And you complain to the school and they could say, yes, but they are a, minor attracted person and that is their gender identity. So you cannot discriminate against them. So then do you have the right to not have your child, like if your child said, Mr. McCartney was rubbing my back, during story time. Do you have that right to say no? I don't know where I came up with that.
Mr. McCartney.
I saw sorry, we have Beatles.
Well, but if this falls into the,
Paul McCartney is not a child predator.
He is not. We have these coasters that are from the Beatles. I'm sorry, Paul McCartney. Please go ahead.
So no, but as a part of this bill, though, does that mean that so let's say that they do strike that out, it still passes. Then like if a child is taken across state lines into Minnesota, are they now like a permanent Minnesota resident under the protection of what the person that brought them there, and the parents have no right to get them back? I mean, like this is.
That's another.
Oh yeah, I hadn't thought about that. Yeah, so someone abducts somebody, and there's an Amber Alert or something like in Florida, and this person like hightails it to get to Minnesota, and now they're like protected because they're in Minnesota. I mean, who knows if it comes down to residency or not? I don't know. That's a great question. But these are the sort of loophole. These are the sort of questions that smart legislators should be asking, right? Like, what the hell?
Yeah, they should be looking at this.
Right.
You'd think you'd be like, why'd you scratch this, Lee Fink?
Yeah, considering like somebody obviously thought this through enough to that when they first proposed it and they voted on it, they're like, but we want to make sure it's clearly not child predators.
Right.
Yeah.
Any PDs out
protected.
there. Any PDs out there or child predators, like we want to make sure that they are a protected class because.
And Lee Fink is like, wait a minute, how come where's all the fun in that?
Yeah. Like
Erase.
They're like, what's so bad about a 30-year-old dude being attracted to a 12-year-old girl? Like, come on. Like, that should be a protected class. That's literally what they're saying with this.
Now, as it stands in Minnesota, sexual acts with someone under the age of 16 is illegal. Under there are some exceptions for instance, if like a 13-year-old has sex with a 15-year-old, they don't get arrested if they're within 3 years of age of one another. So like, teenagers, that's a different thing.
The Romeo and Juliet laws, they typically call that.
This makes me uncomfortable to talk about. I'm just giving you that distinction. Now, as a parent, of course, this legislation freaks me out because I feel like our generation of parents is supposed to be the ones that like listen to our kids and listen for the signs and make sure that they feel comfortable telling us what's going on and make it a safer world so less child predators, fewer child predators can actually get at their game. Instead, it seems like we're creating a world where it can happen to them more. We have spoken out a lot about how the LGBT community had its sort of movement, hijacked and tagged onto by the trans rights activists. And now LGB members are pushing back. But we've been warning you that is an expanding, spectrum of interest groups that want to sort of tack on to the civil rights, the hard-won civil rights of gay people now are being tacked on to people by groups that do not at all represent gay rights. And a friend of mine, I was talking to her today, and she's like, I've been an out lesbian for 40 years. We've tried so hard to make it so that people don't see us as perverts. And then now people see this as like all part of the same ball of wax, and this doesn't represent us at all. And she just goes bananas over it. Now there's a movement online to rebrand these child predators as MAPs, or minor attracted persons, or YAPs, which is youth attracted persons. And you know how the gay rights movement had the rainbow flag, and then now the trans rights activist has this sort of baby shower color flags, where it's like powder blue or baby pink. Well, now online, there is a MAP or YAP flag to represent people who are minor attracted. This was put online this week and then immediately suspended by Elon Musk. And the person said, oh, this is for Alice Day. Here is Elon Musk responding to someone saying, look, Elon Musk suspended this flag, and he says, absolutely, this is not tolerated on this platform. So I'm letting you know, if you see this flag, you should report it. Don't report this. Right. We're just showing it. Yeah. This is a symbol of predators. Let me tell you a little bit about, let's take it down.
Yeah.
What Alice Day is, because that was just this week, April 25th. And that is a day when child predators just sort of show around this teddy bear. I'm just going to show you this local news clip. There's no audio to it. When you see this, also, that is a sign for predators that they are going to share tips and tricks being the marginal, or
what, the bear?
That bear is a sign of,
because Peter Frowine in our chat says, Clayton, please stop using the word Petey. It's way too close to my name. I'm sorry, Peter. I'm trying to
like that IT crowd where her boyfriend was Peter File.
Yeah. So here's the thing. Literally, if you do a search for that word on YouTube, you won't find it. Like, it's blocked, banned. You can't use it. So we've been very careful to not use it because they'll block our whole show. So what's another word we can use that, what word we're talking about? Panda? How about pandas?
We're not coming up with any kind of cute name for sexual predators of children.
Okay, we'll just call them child predators. That's what we've been calling them all the time. All right, so I won't call them Petey anymore.
What are you trying to do? Make a game out of it?
Not a game. I'm just trying to find something that we all know, we understand what it is, and it's awful. But we can still cover this story and not be blocked and banned.
Okay, well, I haven't said that word.
Okay.
I've only said child predators. Okay. I don't want to be cute about this. It's not funny.
Who's being cute about it?
It's terrifying.
Yeah, I know. That's my point. The stories are being suppressed is my point. So in order for us to get this information out there, we have to delicately dance this crap. That's what I'm pissed about.
So you see, the chat room goes crazy when we argue like this. We'll stop bickering now in front of you. I always tell the kids, don't fight in front of other people. It makes them uncomfortable. But I do that with you every night.
I know. Like, what the hell? You use your own advice?
I showed you the bear. That also is a symbol of a predator. Report it when you see it. But my point here is that we will inevitably see that MAPs and YAPs are presented as marginalized groups, and that this will become louder in the same vein as we are asked to see transgender people as a marginalized group. Because, again, we have allowed trans rights activists to put their sort of fetishes on children as an identity. Like they are now advocating for this. Not all of them. And of course, Philip was talking about earlier, there is this division of people who are like, you don't belong in our group, or you can't go this extreme. But look at this tweet calling for people who, that P word, this person is saying, no, we have to put these people in prison or get them extensive treatment. And this other person says, you're inciting violence towards a marginalized group. So again, this is the rhetoric that we are going to see, is calling minor attracted people
a marginalized
and we talked about this when we talked about some of the board members of Mermaids, the transgender advocacy group in the UK, that one of their board members was someone who advocated for YAPs and MAPs. I'm not a therapist. I don't know what a child predator needs. What I do know is they do not need legalization.
Well, you don't know what they need to get better. You left that part out. You don't know what they need to get better or improve.
Ew.
You wrote it here. I don't know what a child predator needs to get better.
Okay, but I wouldn't be thinking what they need to satisfy themselves. I'm thinking what they need to be a part of society.
That's what I'm saying.
Clearly, I don't think anyone was thinking I was hoping to get them what they want. What the hell, Clayton?
Go on. I'm saying you left that part out, which means to improve through therapy. If they're going to improve, that's the part you left out. I was just calling attention to that.
You're on my list right now. Okay. Yes. Minor attracted people are not a marginalized group. Children, the young people, the minors are the marginalized group. Let's protect them first. And I'll deal with you later.
I hope so. Yes, a lot of people in the chat agree with me, which is great, as usual. I don't know. I'm just saying these people are not marginalized. It's disgusting, is what it is. Monsters.
Yeah, and to be very clear, like the vast majority of the LGBT communities does not accept maps as part of their group. The people that do, the people that do are the maps. They are the ones that are fighting for legitimacy, and nobody else is fighting for them. Yeah, exactly. Nobody else is fighting for them.
Creating a flag, we're normal. We're just like the LGBTQ plus community. We're maps. That's our orientation. We just happen to be really attracted to young people.
I don't think it has anything to do with LGBT community.
No, absolutely it doesn't. But they're trying to. They're trying to lump themselves into it in order to get favored nation status.
Yes.
So it's really disturbing.
I mean, it's a sign of how well the gay rights movement has been able to establish rights for itself, which is wonderful. But it does feel like it's being dragged back down and regressed to a place where the people that this movement was for, homosexuals, now are being marginalized as bigots.
Yeah.
Because they do not want to accept these other groups. And it's not like they're just pulling up the drawbridge, we got our rights, bye. I mean, they're literally not a part of the same ideology at all.
Not at all. It's really, really sad. And it's so much more nuanced. And I'm glad we're able to have this discussion on the show and go into this nuance here. Thank you so much for watching this segment here at Redacted. We are live every day at 4 p.m. Eastern time, trying to share the stories that the mainstream media will not cover. You should also come over and join our community of Redacted Rebels over at redacted.inc. That's our private locals community where we can share exclusive content that we simply cannot share here on YouTube. Come over and join the rebellion together right now by going to redacted.inc. We'll see you next time.